So I was just sitting here and I was thinking to myself, I had this grill, right? Don't want to touch that. So, anyways, I have this grill that I cook eggs on. And I was taking this spatula and I was scraping the grill and I was eating the oil and the grease from the eggs with the spatula. And I was looking as the spatula was cutting across the grill, and I was looking at the light shining off of the grill and how beautiful it was. And how I was like putting the spatula in my mouth, and the repetition of the spatula on the grill as it was getting clean, and as I was cleaning it and still getting the grease in my mouth, I was thinking about how much of it, how it was an art form. And there's something on my wall, I wrote it a long time ago, and it said, everything I do is an art form, a mastery, to be, to be present, but also to do tasks, get things done. And, this isn't a new concept. I learned that from Krishnamurti, I learned that from Eckhart Tolle, I learned that from reading a book called The Blue Zone. It's a bunch of people around the world that live to be over 100 years old. And they live in these sections of the world, and they call them Blue Zone sections. And there's a YouTube video on it. The guy that wrote the book, he gave a speech. It's kind of like a TED Talk speech. And it's an incredibly informative speech about how to live correctly. Right? And what all these people enjoy, these Blue Zone people, is they enjoyed household tasks. Because when they did these household tasks, they went into a meditative state where they were just present, which is an art form. It's a beautiful feeling. Like I was doing with the grill. And I was seeing it as an art form. And I was completely present while I was doing it. And it gets to a point in your life, I don't want to say your spiritual life because that's just hokey, but it gets to a point in your life, if you're living correctly and you spend enough time in stillness where you could just be with yourself, that you start to understand that everything is a mastery. Like everything you do is an art form. Everything that you do. From brushing your teeth to washing a Tupperware bowl to listening to somebody while they're speaking with you. Everything you do is a form is an art form, is a mastery. To be present while you're there, in that moment. If you look at it like, oh, I have to do dishes or something like that, or if you see it as a chore that you don't like to do, and you don't see it as a time where you could be enjoying yourself, be spending that time focusing on seeing it as an art form, you'll slip into not really enjoying your life. Because most of your life is doing simple things like this. Making food, cleaning dishes, brushing your teeth, all those things. And that, I pretty much stole that from an Eckhart Tolle speech because, well, it's very true. Most of your life is doing things like this. And Eckhart Tolle talks about, like, some people, they get so bored with everyday life that they have to climb on top of a mountaintop and go to the top of a mountain and be like, oh, thank you for this moment. I'm on top of a mountain. Yes, I climbed this mountain. Look at this view. It's amazing. Or they have to go skydiving or whatever. But you can't stay on the top of that mountain for too long. Eventually you have to come down. And then you get bored with life again. And then you have to look for another moment. because you're dissatisfied with just being here, living everyday life. You're dissatisfied with it, so you have to look for all these epic adventures, or you have to buy things, or you have to watch things that entertain you. And it goes back to figuring out depression, the intro that I did last week about the Greek philosophy and the Ronin samurai philosophies. Same concept, because that's what life is. You either figure out that everything you do is an art form and something of mastery that you want to master or be at peace with and just enjoy doing, or you have to look for things outside of yourself, external things, to make you joyful or happy. And this all goes back to the concept of, do people have ideas, or do ideas have people? I think it was Nietzsche that said that. And it's very true, because, you start to think, like, well, why does everybody throughout history come to this conclusion that I'm talking about right now? And I believe that they come to this conclusion when they spend enough time in stillness by themselves. And they see how amazing and beautiful it feels to just enter that space of meditation when you're doing something. That quiet, that calmness when you're doing something. And it's the most beautiful feeling. Like when I was doing that with the grill earlier today. That was the best I've felt in a day. I'm not kidding. Like the last section of my day was very chaotic. I was surrounded by people that were in my life, and they were going in and out of, emotions, and they weren't very happy in certain sections, and I didn't know what to do, and I wanted to make them happy. And their emotional stability was starting to control my emotions. And and it was very upsetting. And it even entered my dream state last night, and I've had several psychiatrists tell me in the past, because I've been in and out of psychiatrists quite a bit throughout my life because of my depression. And I've had so many psychiatrists tell me, Joe, you don't have the power to make people happy. You just don't. And, it's their job to heal. It's their job to find happiness on their own and solitude. It's their job to work at it. And that's not your job, and you don't have the power to make people happy. But when you have people in your life, like family members, really good friends, that you see are suffering and they're not happy, like, it's so hard for it not to affect you. It's almost like you have to be like this emotionless robot to not let it affect you. And clearly I'm not there. Like I like when I love somebody and I see them suffering, it's very hard for me to just shut it off and be like, oh, whatever, you're suffering, you just have to deal with that on your own. I can't do that. Like, I always am affected by somebody that's emotionally hurting in front of me if I love them, but I guess that's one reason why it's very difficult to be in relationships. When you're in a relationship, and you allow the other person's emotions or moods to affect you, that's when the relationship starts to take a toll on your life, for better or for worse. And that's why relationships are difficult. And the best thing you could do in the relationship is to have the hard conversations and really talk things through and talk about like, you know, like, like how are you feeling? What what's going on? Like how are you? And having the conversations that you need to have, and hopefully the person could be truthful with you, and could be vulnerable with you, and but yeah, there's a bunch of research on relationships, how to have a healthy relationship, how to have those conversations that are on YouTube, and there's books and stuff like that. But anyways, everybody, I don't know where that video went, but anyways, guys, have a great time. Thank you so much for everything, and yeah, have fun. Gryffindor rocks.